being here. We also have Julio Cortez, who's our staff liaison for the Lodging Tax Committee. There may also be a few of the applicants who have requested to attend this virtual meeting. And for those of you who are grant applicants, I would just ask you to recognize that this is a committee meeting and would ask that you not use the chat function. And if we do have questions as we go through the agenda and review the grant applications, we'll be sure to let you know, and PIPA will help guide us through unmuting you and having you answer whatever questions or comments might come up. So with that said, Julio, I very much appreciate you putting this packet together for us. As we all know, we have our second round of grant applications here to review. We did, just as a quick review for everyone checking in here, that we did have an earlier round or a first round of Ltch grants earlier this year, and this was for events that were scheduled to happen before May 31st, 2021. We did have 5 grant applications that were approved for a total of $50,000. And all of those programs were expected to meet the current COVID-19 restrictions and safety standards that were in effect at the time of those events. And I expect later on, of course, it's the 1st of June, so some of those events may have only just recently finished up, and I expect we'll be getting a report later on from Julio as to how those events played out, and hopefully they were all successful. So we're here today to talk about our second round applications. We do have 10 applications that have come in, and we have, in this round of funding, we have a budget of $150,000. Unfortunately, our funding this year is less than it has been in prior years as a result of the downturn in the hotel lodging tax receipts. And but we are pleased to be able to have a budget of $150,000. So the 10 grant applications that were received, the total request on those 10 applications in the aggregate is $334,363. And so obviously we don't have enough funding to grant each and every dollar that has been requested. So we're going to have to go through each of these grant applications and determine whether we want to fund the grant, and if so, at what level. And then we'll have to be sure that at the end we come back around and review our budget at $150,000 and make sure we haven't over allocated to any one particular grant application. So with that background, I thought what we would do first I want to just see if any of the committee members, Gail or Sheldon, if you have any questions or comments at this time, feel free. And hearing none, Julio, do you have any other comments to add at this point?
Nope, just that I do have an Excel sheet open and I'm keeping track of how much is allocated by the committee. So I can give updates at any point on how much money we have remaining for as far as grants go.
Good, thank you, Julio, appreciate that. And I see we have Council President Brenda Stonecipher has just joined the meeting. Welcome.
Hello.
Hi.
Sorry, I'm late.
No worries. We just went through kind of a brief recap of where we've been thus far this year with our round 1 grant applications, and talked a little bit about the 10 grant applications that we have received thus far, not in any detail, and reminded everybody of our budget of $150,000. So with that said, what I thought we would do first is, if it is acceptable to the committee, is I'd like to go through and just have some brief discussion about each and every one of the 10 grant applications before we start allocating any dollars, because I don't want to have us go through and start allocating dollars before we've at least talked about each and every one of them. So if that makes sense, I thought what we could do is just briefly discuss, and I know that these packets were handed out last week by Julio, so hopefully everybody's had a chance to go through and look at the packets in detail. There's quite a lot of information here. So I'm going to get to the correct page here, which has a recap of the 10. And these are in the order that they were received by me in my packet. So I'm not meaning to imply any preference on any of these grant applications by the order in which they've been been discussed here. So the first of the 10 grant applications is Cruisin' to Colby, which has made a application for, I believe it's $30,000. And Julio, you can correct me as we go here.
Sure thing.
And maybe, Julio, if you could just give us a little bit of a reminder. I believe Cruisin' to Colby is an event that's been funded for several years by the LTAC. And do you have any of that history for us?
Yeah, so they have been given LTAC funds in, let me just go down to, in 2018, they were awarded $10,000. In 2019, they were awarded $17,000 from LTAC.
Right. Okay. So 2018, 10,000, 2019, 17,000. And of course, in 2020, I believe this event had to be canceled.
Correct.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so we have dates that are planned for this event of September 4th, 5th, and 6th. So this is a 3-day event, and the project sponsor is the Snohomish County Football Officials Hall of Fame, which I believe is a valid 501c3, correct, Julio?
Correct.
And we have nonprofit tax ID numbers and so forth. So there's a $30,000 request. Does anyone have any questions or comments on this one at this point? Gail or Sheldon or Brenda?
Nothing for me.
No, let's go through them all and kind of figure out what we're going to do.
Yep. Okay, that sounds good. Okay, so the second one we have is I believe it's a new proposed event. It's the Delta Art and Garden Festival, and this is a request for $3,500. And this has been sponsored. It's actually going to be organized by the Delta Neighborhood Association, and they have a fiscal sponsor through the Community Foundation of Snohomish County. And this is for an event on August 29th, 2021. And it would include essentially an event at Jackson Park, which is in the Delta neighborhood. And so, obviously we have a number of neighborhood associations throughout the city. I believe there's 19 neighborhood groups, and each of those neighborhood groups is eligible under a separate program to request funds for their neighborhood group. But this would be a request that's over and above the annual neighborhood grant that the city makes. Any questions or comments, or shall we keep moving?
Let's keep moving.
Okay. The third event that I have is the Fisherman's Village Music Festival. This is scheduled to occur from September 9th through September 11th, so a 3-day event. This is a repeat program that we've had for several years in the city of Everett. It's a request for, I believe it is it $30,000?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay. And we have, do we have a tax ID number for a nonprofit sponsor on this project, Julio?
Not on this application. I'm still working on getting that, but they do have a partner there.
So they have a partner that essentially would serve as their fiscal sponsor. Is that what we believe?
Correct. Yeah, they do. I'm thinking of a name. It's the Snohomish County Music Initiative.
Yes. Okay. And I think that is listed here, and there's a tax ID number listed in their application, so we can verify that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any questions or comments on that one?
Have they had funds in the past?
They have. Let's see. Julio, do you have that handy?
I'm scrolling down now. Yeah, so between 2014 and 2019, funds were approximately $35,000 per year. But 2020, the event was canceled.
Right. So they have a track record of about 6 years of receiving funds at $35,000 per year.
Correct.
Okay. Any other questions?
No.
All right. Hearing none, we'll move on to the fourth request. This request is actually submitted by the city of Everett, and it's submitted for the 4th of July festivities planned for July 4th. And this is essentially to provide additional programming on the 4th of July. As some of you know, we've for many years had a fireworks display. I believe that was canceled last year due to COVID, but the plan is to have the fireworks display again this year. And this, as things are starting to open up towards the end of June, there's an expectation that the community might enjoy additional activities and festivities on the 4th of July. And so this request is for $30,000 for the 4th of July.
So what is the 30,000 going to be used for?
I believe they're hoping to add music, beer festival, and the request would be for like equipment rental. And let's see, but it was mostly for music production and beer festival and a couple of acts as well.
And
So
I
just to
think
kind
there's also listed some equipment rental, if I'm reading the application correctly.
Yep.
So I think the question gets to be is, and this probably will be something I'd like to circle back on this. And I know that we have, I believe we have Kimberly Shelton on from the city of Everett. We may later, when we get to asking questions, we may want to ask sort of what the impact would be, for example, if we did not fund this or if we funded it at a reduced level. My understanding is that the fireworks show itself is already funded. And so this would not be for the fireworks show. It's for additional festivities that would be ancillary to that fireworks show on the 4th. And so we can circle around and get that confirmed. Meantime, any other questions on this one before we move on with the overview?
No. No,
Okay.
I'm good.
Gail, anything? Okay, thank you. Moving right along, the 5th grant application is from the Historic Everett Theater, which is an organization that we did fund actually earlier this year in our round 1 funding. And Julio, can you remind the committee of the funding level that we did give in the round 1 for Historic Everett Theater?
Yes, it was $15,000.
Okay, and this request is for $20,000, and it is essentially in support of their 2021 season. So it's not a specific event throughout the year. It's really to support their entire programming for the balance of the year from June 1st through the end of December. And there's a breakdown here on the 20,000. Some of it is for marketing, and I believe some of it is for equipment, both of which would be allowed to be funded.
Do we know what the other 20 or the other 15,000 was used for, and how did it impact what they were doing?
We haven't gotten the report on the impact, but it was for the first half of their programming year. I haven't gotten the reports yet.
Yeah.
On round 1.
Right. Any other questions or comments on this one?
No.
All right. Hearing none, we'll move on to the overview on the 6th request. This is a request again from the city of Everett in support of Jetty Island Days. This request is for $57,696, and it is supporting the Jetty Island activities from July 5th, 2021 through September 6th. Now, in the past, just a little bit of background. In the past, the city has hired a ferry to shuttle people back and forth over to Jetty Island for the summer months. That did not occur in 2020, and for 2021, it has been sort of, the program is being resurrected, which is a great thing. There is a partnership that's new this year, and support has been received by the Port of Everett, who has actually agreed to step up and pay for the ferry charter with Argosy Cruises. And so that cost has been taken care of by the Port of Everett. For the first time, there will be a nominal charge for folks that are going back and forth to Jetty Island. And the charge is $3 per person for the ferry service, and $2 per car for parking, and I believe children 2 and under are free. And those funds will actually go back to the Port of Everett to offset the commitment that they've made in picking up the cost of the ferry. So this request from the city would be for other programming costs in support of the activities on the island, helping to make sure people are getting safely on and off the boat, and for programming on the island as well when people are over there.
Okay, I don't really know. Where is this Jetty Island thing? I'm sorry.
Okay, well, it's just out to the west of the marina. So where the Port of Everett property is to the west, there is that jetty that runs, from the north to south. It's quite a large piece of property, and there's a nice beach over there. There's some nature walks. There's, I believe, restrooms that are brought over. It's really a nice activity, fun place to go with a family or for a picnic or with friends, and really a lot of fun if you've never done it. Definitely something to do.
So looking at the expenses, 45,000 is for personnel, and then there's 12,696 for other. Do we know what that other is?
I believe it's for programming, but Kimberly Shelton, who's on, when we revisit the application, she might be able to give a little more specifics on it.
Yep, I think that's a good question. Let's hold that thought, and when we circle back around, we can get some of these questions answered by Kimberly. Anything else on the Jetty Island proposal at this point?
I'm good.
Gail? No? Okay, thank you. Moving on to the 7th request, 7 out of 10, is the Shack Art Center, which has a request for $79,467. And this is essentially to support their exhibits and online learning opportunities and promotion of the Shack Art Center from June 1st through December 31st. The Arts Council of Snohomish County is the legal name, which is a nonprofit. We have the tax ID number for the Shack Art Center. And in the past, we have had the Shack Art Center as a recipient of LTAC funds. I believe 2018, the Shack Art Center received $85,000. In 2019, $100,000. In 2020, $90,000. And in round 1 of our LTAC funding earlier this year, $15,000 was awarded. Any questions or comments on the Shack Art Center request?
No.
This time? Okay. Gail? All right. Moving right along. The 8th grant application is the Upper Left Beer Festival and Food Truck Festival, and the request is for $39,500. And this is for an event that is scheduled to take place on Friday, August 27th and Saturday, August 28th. And this is also an organization, a nonprofit organization that has received funding in the past. In 2017, this organization received $20,000. In 2018, also $20,000. In 2019, the funding was increased to $31,000. And in 2020, I believe there was money approved at $32,000, but zero was awarded because the event was canceled due to COVID. Any questions or comments on this one at this time?
No.
Okay. Moving right along, the 9th grant application is from the Village Theater. Application request of $40,000. And this is to basically help them return to producing shows. There would be, as I understand it, a couple of shows that would be put on or supplemented with these funds, and those would be dates of July 16th through the 25th. And again, another series from November 20th to December 5th. This has been an annual recipient of LTAC funds from 2017 through 2020, excuse me, from 2017 to 2020. This organization, believe, has received $40,000 annually. And I believe most of this funding is for marketing related activities. Any questions or comments?
No.
Okay, thank you. And the 10th and final grant application is for the Yankee Doodle Dash, which has an application request for, I believe it's $4,200. This is for Yankee Doodle Dash, which occurs on the 4th of July, 2021, and it is sponsored by the YMCA of Snohomish County. And Gail, I believe, unless I'm mistaken, I believe you work at the YMCA. Is that correct?
Yes, so I'm probably not, well, you can ask me questions whenever. Yeah,
we could ask questions, but you won't be able to weigh in on this one, of course. But this is another one that has been sponsored for the past several years, and I believe the grant amounts have ranged from a low of $750 up to $3,000 per year over the last few years. So, Sheldon, any questions at this point on this one?
No, not at all.
Okay. Okay, good. All right, so there we have kind of an overview. And again, Julio has the total, but the total amount of the requests is $334,363. So I did the math with our $150,000 budget, and this is just purely hypothetical, but if we were to decide that we were going to spread this funding out pro rata on each and every one of the 10 recipients, we would be able to only fund about 45% of the ask, so to speak. So I think that puts this into context. Obviously, we have some difficult decisions to make. We'll have to decide if each and every one of these warrant funding, and if so, at what level. But to put it into context, if we do end up funding each and every one of these, funding more than 45% means that we're going to have to fund less than that on some other requests. So I think we need to keep that in mind as we go through this. So with that said, I'd like to go back to the cruise into Colby and see whether or not we have any questions. I don't know whether we have anyone from that organization on the call. Julio or Pipa, do we have anyone on from that organization that's requesting that?
We do not.
Okay. Sheldon or Gail, any thoughts? I mean, this one does, I will say this one does bring a lot of people into town. My understanding is they expect at least 300 participants in terms of people who would be entering their classic cars into the show, and some portion of those they estimate over 100, or at least 100, would be traveling from out of state or out of the area. So there will be some heads and beds, I think, that would be created from this event. It does bring a lot of people downtown. It's a great event. I've been to it not consistently, but several times over the last few years, and it's really a lot of fun. So from my standpoint, I would like to see us at least fund at some portion this Cruise into Colby car show.
Yeah, and I think this helps the outside world see that Everett is back open for business. I've actually as we went through these, I kind of portioned money out to everything to come out to 150,000. So I think we do put money into this. And my suggestion is 20,000.
Okay, so hypothetically, you would put $20,000 to this one?
Yes.
And recognizing that, I guess we'll hear how you've apportioned the money as we go along, but recognizing that 45% of this request would be around 13.5, you're suggesting that we fund this at higher than the sort of that average funding level based on the application and the heads and beds and the number of visitors. Is that?
Yes.
Yeah,
as we went through, I was kind of putting numbers to everything and kind of jockeying around a little bit. And you know, in their match, they have 20 grand match. I wouldn't mind matching this. I think it's going to be a bigger thing to say that Everett is open for business and we want these people to come in. So, you know, I just think the impact would be better on money spent like that on this type of organization in this event.
Okay. Gail, do you have any thoughts? I mean, this is just a placeholder at this point. We're going to have to go through all these, and then we'll probably have to circle back around as well.
Yeah, I agree that it's a really special event, and I'm glad to see that, because it's usually Memorial Day weekend, so I was really excited to see that they're having this year, as far as I was aware. But I kind of thinking more of the 10,000 to cover marketing was what my thought was on that one. Not that I.
Okay, so all right. So we have a 10 and we have a 20. I would probably we haven't gotten through the rest of these, but I would probably err on the higher side for this one because again, it is a great event. They have a real track record of bringing people into town, and again, I agree with you, Sheldon, that it does show that Everett's open again, open for business, and brings a lot of people downtown. So let's just for the here and now, let's just leave the two numbers sort of floating there, the 10,000 and the 20,000, and let's come back later and see where we are. Does that make sense?
Yep, that's great.
Okay,
So
let's move on.
Scott, just real quick, no official motion at this time.
Right.
No.
Okay.
Okay, we're just talking about it. So Delta Art and Garden Festival, again, this is a new event at $3,500. Sheldon, did you have anything penciled in for this one?
$2,000.
Okay. Gail, did you have any thoughts on this one?
Basically what I've done is just keep circling the marketing. So 1,200.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a good idea.
Okay,
Yeah,
so we have Brenda, did you have a thought?
Yeah, I think that seems reasonable since we have limited funds. I like the idea of looking at the marketing budgets. I also am reminded as I look, as you look through these applications, that one of the criteria that we value is that when things are happening in the off season. So I think at some point we might want to circle back and take a look at when these events and festivals are expected to occur, and if some are occurring during the off season, make sure that we're giving them that kind of extra attention.
Yeah, that's a good point. Several of these are summertime events, but a couple of them do have events that stretch into the fall and even early winter, I think. So, okay. Well, again, let's not pencil anything in yet, Julio, but I'm keeping track of kind of the range on these.
Mhm.
And we'll circle back and start penciling some numbers into your Excel sheet when we go back through it again.
That's good.
Fisherman's Village, this is, again, $30,000. Gail, why don't I start with you? Did you have a number in mind on this one?
I went with the 30,000 on this one. I believe that this is a phenomenal event, and it does entice out of the area people to come into our into Everett.
Okay, obviously funding it at 30,000 means that something else is going to have to be funded at a far lower level, which is, which if that's what we decide to do, that's fine. I just want to point that out. Sheldon, did you have a thought on this one?
I had 30.
Okay.
Winner, winner.
Okay. So we've got 30,000 from a couple committee members. I'd like to sort of hold back on my opinion until we see how the other ones shake out. I mean, I really love the Fisherman's Village Music Festival, and it'd be great to fund it at 30. But I do know there's other requests that we would have to either reduce or zero out. So, okay, let's move on to the 4th of July event. And again, this is a request from the city. I think maybe there was some questions, and at this time it might be appropriate if we can unmute Kimberly Shelton if she's available from the city to speak to any questions. Hi, Kimberly.
Hi there.
How are you?
I'm great. How's everybody?
Good.
Good.
Thank
Nice
you
to
for
see you, Gail.
thank you for tuning in. Were there specific questions on this, Sheldon or Gail?
Well, I mean, I looked at the funding, and so 30,000 is what they want. 5 of it's for personnel, 15 for production, 10 for equipment. That comes out to the 30. I guess, I mean, for me, I was looking to fund it at a little less because, personnel is personnel, I guess, there. So, I don't know.
Well, let me ask a question, Kimberly. What, I guess, I really want to understand sort of worst case scenario. Let's say that the committee decided to fund this at 0. What is going to be the outcome of that? We'll still have the fireworks show, but what won't we have in the city in terms of events on the 4th of July if this is funded at 0?
Well, I want to first start off by saying that this is really Tyler Chisholm and Dan Ernestie's application. I have not even seen the application, but I do have experience working with cultural arts in the past, so I'm happy to tell you, based on my familiarity with the 112 Cultural Arts General Fund budget, is that we could go one of two ways. We could pull back on the festival side and make it much smaller with no entertainment, and we would do the bare bones porta potty rentals that we have to do. We could probably still have food vendors out there. We would still have support from police, transit, and parks and fire to make sure the event fireworks go off with a hitch and we can get people in and out. It would just greatly reduce the amount of entertainment that happens because there was no festival funds and no firework funds, as I'm sure you guys recall, put into the budget for 2021. And then you guys went ahead and allocated firework funds, but no other funds for the festival.
Yeah,
I do remember that. Kimberly, thank you. We had a lot of discussions at the council level last fall when we were trying to finalize the budget, and a lot of blood, sweat, and tears went into trying to get funding put back in for the fireworks show. But I recognize that everything else, the ancillary things, may not have actually been funded. So that's really what this is all about.
Correct.
Yeah,
It's just
and I
putting the fun back into the Legion Park Festival.
Yeah, and Julio, you were trying to interject, I think.
yeah, I was just saying I did speak to Tyler Chisholm, and that, I mean, Kimberly, your experience is right on. That's probably what it would be. It was just the entertainment, so it would be bare bones, kind of just mostly just the fireworks, couple food trucks. So just from the event organizer's perspective, Tyler Chisholm, what Kimberly said is pretty accurate on that.
Okay. And so if we were to fund this at a reduced level, could we get something, and maybe we don't know, Kimberly, I don't know if Tyler or Dan are on the call, but could we get something out of this to add some fun and festivities to the day if we were only able to fund a portion of this?
I trust in Tyler's ability to do something fun with whatever funds you guys allocate. In the past, we've done bouncy houses. We could potentially look at doing that where it's a little more family friendly and maybe not live entertainment. That's where the real expense starts to add up.
Yeah. I mean, I like the event because people are going to come spend money in the city. That's one of the things.
Yeah, I like the event. Also, I love the idea of like, so we don't have the parade this year, and so the 4th of July has been a pretty phenomenal festive occurrence. But now it's kind of it's bigger celebration because last year was just so destitute, and like it kind of rebirthed the 4th of July. I love the idea of the festival being attached to the fireworks, if possible, some way.
Yeah.
Well, I agree, and I'd like to see us fund a portion of this. I don't know that we can do the full 30,000 because again, that's going to take away from something else. So as a placeholder, I might suggest that we put in 15,000.
Yeah. Good number.
And we can circle back later and see where we are. But does the committee comfortable with that?
Yeah, and I think 15 is good. And the other part is, you think about it, this is going to be the really first big celebratory event and day since COVID started.
Right.
So this is like our big breakout. So we've got to do something, at least a portion of it. And I put 15 in my placeholder, actually.
Oh, okay, great.
So
Brenda, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that sounds good for now. If we can go through and see what we can do. I agree with Sheldon. This is going to be the first big thing, and I guess one of the questions I have is our community really going to be ready to come out, for something like this on July 4th? I just don't know.
Yeah, and I believe Tyler did mention at first the plan was to just have the fireworks, but as soon as the governor announced the statewide reopening for June 30th, it, kind of just like Sheldon said, now the economic development office is seen as the first big thing to open things back up.
Yeah, we don't want to look lame.
Yeah, I suspect that there will be some people who won't be comfortable, but I suspect there'll be a fair number who will be anxious to get out and do something fun that day. So let's, Julio, for now, let's put 15,000 into your Excel sheet. And I know we've got a few other numbers floating around on the other ones, but at least let's start putting some numbers in with that. Okay. Okay. If there's no other comments at this point, let's go on to the historic Everett Theater request. And again, this one was $20,000. And it's really 10,000 for marketing and 10,000 for equipment in support of their season. So it does spread the money out throughout the remainder of the year. And again, as I recall, this organization did receive some funding in round one, correct, Julio?
They did for 15,000.
Yeah.
And was that, remind me, was that the first time that Historic Everett Theater has received funding? I think so.
It says that in 2018, 2019, they applied and received $50,000 from the LTEC.
50,000 for each year? Or
it says 2018/2019.
So that might be the total for the 2 years?
Correct, yeah.
Okay, so they have had, they have received funding in the past in a couple of years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea that this does spread out throughout the year. But you know, in light of our funding constraints and the fact that they have received some funding earlier this year, I would probably lean towards a placeholder at this point of 10,000 just to see where we end up.
We're on the same page.
Gail?
Yep, that's what I,
Okay.
oh,
All right, let's put 10,000 in for now and we'll circle back. Okay. Moving on to Jetty Island Days. Again, request was for 57,696. And Kimberly, if you can come back on, I think this one you do have some familiarity with. So can you just talk to us just a little bit about how the 57,000 would be spent?
Absolutely. We're pretty proud of this new partnership that we've developed with the Port of Everett and Snohomish County. We believe that this is a county-wide and really Western Washington program, and Jetty Island's pretty desirable. The piece that the city of Everett is retaining is helping with customer service at the boarding site for Jetty Island, as well as making sure we get everybody off the island at the end of each day and assisting with that. And so it takes staff people on both sides to facilitate this. About 12,000 of that is also programming expenses. We have historically provided nature walks, arts and craft events, campfires on Saturday nights. We're looking at maybe adding some cool excursions. Well, excursions probably not the right word, but we're going to partner with a few organizations to do some education events for people who are out there. And so, but the bulk of this is about $45,000 in staffing costs, and that's seasonal staffing that we just bring on for Jetty Island Days, and then once they are then I guess terminated or at the end of the season. So it's not full-time staff.
So Kimberly, can you remind me again, I think we had conversations in our budget discussions for 2021, and I don't recall exactly where we ended up on the Jetty Island funding and the budget. Can you remind me, was there any funding put in the final budget?
There was no funding in the 2021 budget for Jetty Island Days. And I really think that assisted us in creating this successful partnership, because the port really stepped up with their covering almost $100,000 in the ferry expense.
Yeah, I really appreciate the port stepping up and doing that. It's a great partnership. And I think the county also is providing some funding, correct?
They're really providing more support for development of the reservation system, which will be new this year. I think it'll be a really great asset to this program where people will know that they have a spot reserved on the ferry, even though it is $3 this year to go across. I think the convenience of having that reservation is going to be pivotal. So the county is running the reservation system. We'll be taking customer service calls if people need to cancel or switch, and they will be gathering funds to be remitted to the port.
And so, Kimberly, one more question from me, and that is on the salaries and wages and benefits that I see here, which is like the $45,000 roughly.
Mhm.
How many seasonal staff? And that is, first of all, that's just seasonal staff, correct? It's not some
Correct.
allocation for, you or the parks management. It's just seasonal staff. And could you break that down as to how many staff and which positions? Because having gone over there several times myself, it's an amazing place to go visit. I remember a couple years ago, took my family over and we had a really nice nature walk. And there was a seasonal staff member there who was explaining kind of all the flora and fauna and the history of Jetty Island and all that. And it really kind of made it come to life. In addition, of course, to being able to, sit on the beach and that sort of thing. But can you just explain to us how many seasonal staff that is and what in particular they're going to do?
Sure. I guess I want to start by saying I just realized this morning, so it's not part of the application, that the 6-month interpretive ranger that does the nature walks and has that education around the flora and fauna, that position is actually funded in the general fund under our ranger budget. And so that's not part of these expenses. What this is about 6 to 8 part-time, well, full-time staff for a very short period, 8 weeks, who will be, again, assisting people as they come to the kiosk. I imagine their ticket will be on a phone. They'll scan a QR code, kind of get them into line to make sure that they're ready to board the ferry when it arrives. And then, ensuring that if there are some capacity restrictions, ensuring that the boat's not overloaded. Also, if there are some no-shows, getting tickets sold for people who might be there on a standby situation. And then I know this is probably way more detail than you want, but then when they get over to the jetty side, they have to pick a time to come back. And so facilitating their return trip is actually quite a big deal. And then it also, again, supports those programs I discussed earlier, the education, the campfire, the arts and crafts, nature walks.
Okay, that's helpful, and it's really good to know that the Rangers budget does have funding in it for the naturalist or person that will do the tours and talk about things over there. But I can see where, I mean, part of it, I guess, the operators of the ferry boat, I would think they would be responsible for ensuring that the boat is not overloaded, and presumably they would help people to get onto the boat and off the boat. But I can see where maybe there'd be some need for some additional support. I guess I'm concerned about trying to fund this entire project. It's something that in the past the city has paid for, and now we have this great partnership with the port and the county, and the port, of course, is picking up the lion's share of the cost through the ferry boat. So I could see funding a part of this, but not anywhere near the entire ask. I guess that's my opinion. What do the other committee members think?
I have a partial funding on it too.
Gail, what do you think?
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you
Partial funded.
do either of you have numbers in mind?
30.
I had a little less than that, but
What did you have, Gail?
I wrote 20.
Okay, 20. Well, how about for the here and now, so we can try to see where this sits? How about if we split that difference and put in 25,000 for now? Julio, can you put 25,000 in?
Will do.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Kimberly. Appreciate the additional info. And I know you'll make it a great program.
Absolutely.
Okay, moving on to, let's see, next up is the Shack Art Center. And again, the request from the Shack is $79,467.
They've already gotten money, right?
They received 15,000 in round one.
Yeah, and just to recap, I think I went through this earlier, but in 2018 they got 85,000. In 19 they got 100,000. In 2020 they did get 90,000, and they've received 15,000 thus far in 2021.
So my question is, for the 15,000, what did they do with it? Because we were so shut down.
I believe they had some online education courses that people took, so they were using that money to promote their online events. And I think they might have had a few events, physical events with following socially distanced regulations. But again, with this one, I haven't gotten the report back for the first half just yet.
But
they've been open throughout.
Go ahead.
They've been open throughout the shutdown when they were able to. So,
but
with social distancing.
Yeah, if they're using money for online, that's not the purpose of our funds, though. Our funds are to draw visitors to the city, draw visitors with lodging nights, and online doesn't do that. So I guess I have a problem with that.
If they got reimbursed, that would have had to be. I don't think it had to do with their education programs. I thought it had to do with just the fact that they were open for public.
Yeah, they did promote kind of just the museum itself and for people to come, but they did have just limited space for anybody that came in. But it was mostly used for marketing. But again, so I don't have the reports just yet on the expenditures.
So just to clarify, my understanding for this request is that this full 79,467 is to be used for marketing purposes.
Correct. Yeah, and they broke it down quite a bit in the budget narrative, but a lot of it's used again to promote via social media. I think they were going to make some updates to their website as well, and it was just kind of again promoting any like festivals like the Fresh Paint, Art and Garage Sale, Shacktoberfest, and holiday shopping, along with some online stuff, but not all. The website redevelopment was going to be about 25,000. Digital and social media campaigns about 20,000. Radio campaigns 12,000. So print ad campaigns 11,000. So again, most of it's just marketing of the Shack Center itself, and the events, some including online.
Yeah, 35,000 is for a rebuild of their website.
25,000. Mm-hmm.
It says 35 in here. In the document. Web developers have estimated the cost to rebuild the website $35,000.
Okay, they might have moved. Yeah, I have $25,000 on the website redevelopment.
Yeah, in the narrative below it says web developers have cost to rebuild the website $35,000.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it looks like, sorry, I was looking at this. They have both those numbers, but 35,000 for a website redevelopment price sounds a little bit more accurate.
Yeah.
So one of the things in their application, there's a question that says, if you do not receive full funding, how would this affect your project? And their answer is, we will rely more on social media platforms without the advantage of targeted and sponsored advertising that effectively targets new audiences. So, I think the Shack obviously is a wonderful amenity that we have in our community, and it does bring a lot of people in. So personally, from my perspective, I'd like to see us fund at least a portion of this. Obviously, at 79,467, I don't think we can afford to fund the whole thing, particularly in light of the fact that they did get $15,000 in the earlier part of the year. So I would be comfortable funding a smaller portion of this, but not the full amount. Sheldon, did you have anything penciled in for this, or
Yes.
did you zero it out?
I have $15,000.
For round two?
Yes.
Gail, did you have anything penciled in?
No. So,
Okay, well, I think with the 15,000 that they got in the first round, let's pencil in 15 now for this round, and again, we'll revisit this and see how we're doing.
Okay.
So let's move on at this point to the upper left beer festival and food truck festival. This request is for 39,500. And again, this is a multi-year project. We've had it since at least 2017. And again, they were zeroed out in 2020 because their event was canceled. And 39,500, I think we have, it does say, again, their question about if you do not receive full funding, how would this affect your project? It says it will make it very difficult to produce the event, or we will have to make decisions on what can be cut without affecting overall product. And if we look at the breakdown on their request, it is 17,000 of it is marketing, 5,000 of it is for production of the project, 6,500 for equipment, and 11,000 for other. Julio, do you know what the other category is for 11,000?
I believe it's going to be like contractors, like security, porta potties, that sort of thing. Although porta potties, I think, do fall under equipment. So I think it's just contractors and security is what I'm reading here.
Okay. Sheldon, do you have any sense as a hotelier whether or not this event does bring in people that generate hotel stays?
I don't. And I mean, it's an event that I don't know if we'll get the same amount that they say they will. You know, I was looking at the numbers they said. I think they said, what did they say, 450? Is that one?
For room night, Sheldon?
Yeah.
They said overall estimate on visitors is 3,800.
Yeah, so only 150 room nights, they're saying.
Right.
So I actually put money there at 15,000, figuring if we got $100 a night, you know, there's the number. I don't know how much this would bring.
And this year they're also partnering with the food truck festival. So the food truck festival used to apply on its own. They brought a few people in from a few room nights, and now it's going to be one event. So I don't know if that'll kind of factor in. Really, this year's just really hard to predict, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, for right now, Gail, did you have any number penciled in?
I penciled 17,000.
Okay.
And that's kind of what I had done as well, which was essentially the marketing part, helping them with the marketing part. So for right now, would everybody feel comfortable with just penciling in 17,000? Let's do that, Julio, and we'll come back later. Okay, moving on to Village Theater. Again, this is a request for 40,000. It's for the season from June 1st through December 31st, but there's really two specific event dates, one in July and another one late in November and early December. And so to Councilmember Stonecipher's earlier point, I do like the fact that this spreads some benefit out into the sort of the off season. And it's really all directed at marketing. So, you know, when we ask the question, if you do not receive full funding, how would this affect your project? They say we would have to reduce the number of marketing products. So essentially, they're going to continue to offer these programs. They're just going to have less funding from us for marketing.
Right.
And we did not fund anything in round one, correct, Julio?
We did not.
Right.
We do have the applicant online if any questions need to be directed towards them.
Does anyone have any questions for the applicant?
No, I don't.
I don't.
Yep.
Gail?
No.
Okay. I would, personally, I would throw out $15,000 as a number to pencil in. And
That's what I got.
Sheldon, that's what you have as well?
Yep, I got the same thing.
Okay, Gail, are you okay with that?
Yep.
Okay, let's do 15 for right now. And then moving on to the Yankee Doodle Dash. And again, Gail, is this the one that you're not going to participate in?
Yeah.
Unless we have questions? Okay.
Yep.
So this is a $4,200 request. We've funded this at various levels from $750 to $3,000 per year over the last few years. This is an event that happens again on the 4th of July. So we do have this going on, which is good, in addition to the fireworks show and whatever else we can squeeze out of the other applicant. And this is all marketing, so it's $4,200 for marketing. Sheldon, what do you have penciled in?
3,000.
Okay. I'm fine with that. Let's pencil that in. Okay, now we need to circle back on the first few that we didn't really get penciled in. And so if we could circle back up to Cruisin' to Colby, I think we had a number from Gail of 10,000 and a number from Sheldon at 20,000.
Yep.
I'd like to suggest that purely for trying to get a total to see where we are, could we split that difference and go at 15?
Yep.
Sheldon?
Yeah.
We'll circle back if I recognize that that's a great event and I'd like to see it get more as well, but let's just see where we are when we get through the rest of these. Delta Art and Garden Festival, we had 1,200 from Gail and 2,000 from Sheldon. I'd like to suggest we put in 1,500 for a placeholder.
Okay.
Okay. Fisherman's Village Music Festival. Did we have 30,000 from both of you on that one?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's pencil it in, recognizing that is funding 100% of their request. And we all know that with our funding where it is, we may have to cut that back. But let's put 30,000 in for right now and see how that shakes out. And then Julio, stop me when we get to the point. We started penciling in some of these numbers. Did we pencil in anything for the 4th of July?
We did. We penciled in 15K.
Okay. And do we have numbers penciled in for all of them now?
We do.
Okay. What's the total?
We have $3,500 left to grant out. So.
Oh, okay. So we have funded 146.5. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So we still have $3,500 that we can grant out.
Let's put it to Cruisin' Colby.
I would like to hear from Gail on that. What do you think? Is there something that you think we should fund in addition? Should we take the 3,500 and split it up amongst a couple of different projects?
Yeah, now I've just got bundles of paper all over here. I'm like, oh, what mess.
Right.
What about the beer festival as well? Was that 17,000 we penciled in for the beer festival?
Correct.
17 for the beer.
Yeah, their request was for 39,500 and we penciled in 17,000.
What did we have for the historic Everett Theater? How much?
10,000.
Historic Everett Theater, we have $10,000 penciled in.
And Jetty Days, we did 25.
Correct.
And Shack Art, we did 15.
Correct.
And Village Theater, we did 15,
Correct.
and 3,000 for Yankee Doodle Dash.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So we do have 3,500 left.
Yep.
Okay, I'm going to just point out, I did a little quick calculation of the percentage of the ask that we have awarded. And so I think there's only 3 events here or organizations that have something that is an off season, and that is the Historic Everett Theater, the Shack, and the Village Theater. And so the average percentage of their ask that we're giving them is 35%. And the average percentage of the other organizations that have exclusively summer or high season events is 58%. So if one of our goals is to get more to help support off-season stuff, I don't think the way they're putting the money there would support that. Just saying. I don't know what our obligations are to use the funding in that way, but at least it feels like they should be close to the same percentage of their ask.
But I think what you look at is you look at the Everett Theater, the Shack Art, and the Village Theater, and the impact on driving room nights and impact on driving people into Everett as a wow. They're honestly the lesser of the other ones. The other ones would have a bigger impact coming out of COVID. We're open for business. It's a bigger impact on driving more room nights, which gives us more tax revenues and more ancillary spend in the city. The Historic Theater, Shack, and Village Theater don't have the same impact.
God, when you would know that better than me, so I appreciate that perspective.
Yeah, I would personally, I'll throw out what I would probably do. I would probably take the 3,500 and I would probably split it somehow between Cruisin' to Colby and the Upper Left Beer Festival. And I would probably err towards a little bit more towards Cruisin' to Colby. I'd probably go 2,500 to them. So I'd make them 17,500, and then I'd add 1,000 to Upper Left Beer Festival, so they'd have 18.
I'm actually good with that.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I like that distribution.
All right, so let's, okay, good. Let's just go back through and recap this one more time so we all have the same numbers. And Julio, I'd ask you to run down through the list based on the latest numbers from the top, if you would.
Yep, one sec. Let me just make these adjustments. Okay, so we have Cruisin' Colby. Their request was for 30,000. Amount suggested to grant is 17,500.
Okay.
Delta Arts and Garden Festival, requested amount was 3,500. Amount suggested to grant out was 1,500. Fisherman's Village Music Festival requested 30,000. Suggested amount to grant is 30,000. 4th of July's request was 30,000. Suggested amount to grant is 15,000. Historic Everett Theater Preservation Society request was 20,000. Amount suggested to grant is 10,000. JD Island Days request was 57,696. Suggested amount to grant is 25,000. Shack Art Center requested 79,467. Suggested grant out is 15,000. Upper Left Beer Fest and Food Truck Festivals requested of 39,500. Suggested grant amount is 18,000. Village Theater's request was for $40,000. Suggested grant out is $15,000. Yankee Doodle Dash requested $4,200 and suggested grant is $3,000. And that would come to a total of $150,000.
Yes, that sounds correct, Julio. Thank you. Well, I feel really good about this list. You know, it's nice to be able to fund each and every program. We have some new programs. We have some older programs that are getting restarted, and it feels good to be able to fund each and every one of them. Obviously, it would be nice to fund them at a higher level, but the funding just simply isn't there. So, great work to
And
the
Scott,
committee. Yes.
Real quick, we do need to have a motion, and somebody moved by and a second. I believe we can do it all in one. We don't have to go through one by one. But
Yes.
we do have
I motion to approve the numbers as Julio read them to us, totaling
Okay.
$150,000.
Thank you, Sheldon. You know, I'm going to go ahead and make the second because included in that is, and the only thing I guess I would maybe say is that we should probably break out the Yankee Doodle Dash as a separate item, because I'd like to have Gail be able to vote on the other ones, but Gail, you can't vote on the Yankee Doodle Dash. So friendly request from Sheldon, would you be willing to move that list with the exception of the Yankee Doodle Dash?
Yes, I amend my motion to approve all but the Yankee Doodle Dash.
And Gail, would you be willing to second that?
I second it, yes.
Okay, excellent. We have a motion and a second. Any further questions or comments?
No.
Hearing none. If in favor, please say aye.
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 And I vote aye. So those first 9 are approved. And then we'll move to the Yankee Doodle Dash. I would move approval of the $3,000 to the Yankee Doodle Dash. Sheldon, is there a second?
I second it.
Okay, motion and second. And for the record, Gail, you're not going to vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And I vote aye. So Yankee Doodle Dash approved at $3,000. Thank you. Thank you all very, very much. This has been a great process. Julio, you've done a nice job pulling all this together. And Gail and Sheldon, I really appreciate your thoughtful attention to all this. It's clear you did your homework, and this is really good. So again, thank you. And we'll talk later in the year about maybe having a meeting to sort of recap where we are. Certainly with the first round grant recipients, Julio will need a few months probably to get all of that information in and finalized. And maybe we could just have a meeting towards the end of the year to see how that all went and talk a little bit about planning for 2022.
Awesome.
That's good.
So we'll
Thanks,
be in touch.
I gotta run.
All right. Thank you very much, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks.
All right.
Thank you all.
Meeting adjourned.